Hello, everyone, and welcome to another day of Permit Launch Week. I'm really happy to be with you here today. It is the third day of the launch week that we are doing. And as every day we are doing, I will start with an announcement. You probably, one of the reasons that you are here is to win the keyboard. You really want to win the custom keyboard that we have raffling at this launch week. And we'll do this raffle in 30 minutes from now. You not have to wait until the end of the live stream to get the um, to be at the raffle. But we are asking you that if you want to be at the raffle, to register in the Luma website. Luma is the website where we are using to register people to our live streams. And we are doing the raffle because we don't know where you are watching us. People are watching us in YouTube, they are watching us on LinkedIn, on Twitter. We don't know where you are watching us. And if you are watching us, we want to know that you are here and that you are part of the raffle. This is why you need to register with Luma. I just put the QR code here at the top of the screen. I'll put it also at the bottom of the screen. So if you wanna to join the raffle, you should go to the link in the Luma live stream and register yourself. And in 30 minutes, we'll do the raffle, and we hope you win. With that say, I'm really excited to start our announcements for today. So, if you are familiar with Permit, you know that having a better modeling of policies is one of our main goals. This is our main strategy to have the best platform for developers to manage and create authorization. And since our early days, we've been the kind of only player in the developer tools that propose a full UI support for having authorization configuration. You would be able to configure role-based access control, relation-based access control, attribute-based access control. All was eligible via the UI. And of course, everything in Permit is API driven, so you can configure policies using APIs. You can configure policies using one of our, I think we have today 14 SDKs. And that's great. But the years is over and we get more and more users and we try to listen to users. And this is why we are always trying to improve the way that you actually configure policies. And the announcement that we have today is how we improving the way that you configure the policies. So the first one, and probably if you've been in Permit for the last couple of months, you probably pay attention that our UI has some improvement in terms of configuring policies. We know that RBAC and ABAC, role-based access control and relationship-based access control, are great for identity access management developers or for security architects. But we also know that developers do not work in this way. Applications are usually modeled in a way of schemas and attributes. You probably have database, and these resources in the database need a proper way to configure policies, to configure your authorization. And for many developers, sticking to the concepts of only role-based access control or relationship-based access control is something that is hard for them to start. And this is why we added some new and simplified functionality in the permit application. So here is, of course, the policy editor. If you're a permit user, you're probably familiar with this modeling page. This is the page that where actually you are configure everything. We'll stick to this example today. This example is example of a configuration of a banking app. We already showed this demo of this banking app earlier in the launch week. But what changed for the last couple of months? So first, we tried to reduce the usage of these RBAC, ABAC, REBAC capabilities and wording inside Permit. We decided to go with top-level roles, which are roles that is colored now in pink. Top-level roles is roles that you are assigning to a user in a level of a tenant, and then the user has access to all the resources in the tenant. And then we have the resource level roles, which you can see here is colored in blue. For example, in our banking example, resource level roles, we have the wire transfer, we have the saving plan, etc., etc. So you have a better way to imagine role and to model them. And that's super important if you're actually working with an application that is, so for example, you're using the SDKs, you're using the APIs, it make it more fit with your way to manage users. You are not manage the relationship. The relationship are exist in your application, but they are just exist and they need to sync in a more intuitive way into the authorization model. And this is why we decided to have simplified relationship-based access control and role-based access control by actually using this top level and resource level instances. So with that simplification, let's also take a look in the resources screen. So also here we have the relations and we have the instance roles. And as you can probably see, we have the roles that are relevant for the particular instances and the roles that are relevant for the particular, for the top level. Another nice thing is also in the directory. Now it's much easier to see what a role is assigned to which user. We can see multiple user here, and with just one glimpse, we can see that a user has top level role for the role-based access control, and also relationship-based access control roles, which we can see here that, for example, the user Oscar has relationship with multiple transactions in its system. So all this simplification is in order to make the policy editor, or if you're looking at on this way, where the rows are actually representing resources and the columns are representing the roles, or the way that we are segmentizing users, are much simpler and more streamlined. But we are not here to talk about the UI today, because the UI is great and we know that you actually love him. But we are trying to always listening to users. And one of the things that is important in Permit is that we are decoupling between the schema configuration of the policy, which is everything what we see here in the policy is the schema. It's not related to your application data, it's related to your application configuration. And we have the directory, which is actually the data in your app, the facts of your app. But if you're thinking about it, many developers are already manage configuration in their applications as code. That's the way the usual application are working today, right? You are not managing the configuration as part of the application code. You are managing the configuration as part of usually infrastructure as code templates and languages. For example, HCL for Terraform or Pulumi. And that's also help you with managing the way that you're actually delivering code. So for example, you are using permit, and if you're familiar with the permit concepts, you have the concept of the project and the environment. So I do have here a project called groups demo, I have a project called domain, and I have my project, the banking demo app, which is equivalent to my application, a single application. But in Permit, we also support environment, which is represented the Git branches, where you are actually managing your software development lifecycle. So you have staging branches probably, where you are doing things before they go to production, and then you have production, and you have maybe feature branches, etc., etc. And Permit also has API that let you copy environment and create new environment that really helping you with modeling everything that is related to model policies. And we understood that we need to find a new way to model policies, because having it only with UI and API and SDK is great, but it's not really fit with how modern cloud native applications manage their configuration. And I'm super happy to announce today the general availability of our Terraform provider. The Terraform provider of Permit is a custom Terraform provider that you can use in your app. And from today, you don't need to use the API or the SDK or the UI to model your policies. You can do it from your application, code. You can just use the Terraform provider and configure everything that is actually configured in Permit. to use the Terraform API, you need to initialize our Terraform. Our Terraform provider is live in the Terraform registry. You can use that with Terraform. You can use that with OpenTofu. You can use that, of course, with any kind of Pulumi that supports Terraform. But the main thing about this one is that you are from now can manage all the permit configuration with the exact same way that you are actually manage your application software development lifecycle. So if, for example, you have feature branches, you can, by creating the feature branch, have an API call, a pre-hook, a pre-commit hook to permit to create or copy the production environment. So the developers can safely work on their environment. And when you are merging into production, you merge it only after all the Terraform new templates are applied to permit and a proper testing is happened. So what we have in this Terraform provider. So first, of course, everything in permit, we have the resources. So you can see that here. Or you know what, maybe better, let's take a look on a real world example, because the banking demo that I just showed you is also using the Terraform provider to configure everything. So I'm going here to the Mesa Verde app. This app, by the way, is available on GitHub. I'll put the link here so you can all just see the code yourself or experience how these things working in permit. I'll just share the QR code, Mesa Verde demo app. And here is, I'm showing you, so you can all scan it and you can see the code live yourself. Yeah, you can see that on the screen, the Mesa Verde demo app. I'll take the QR code down soon. And let's take a look on how this Mesa Verde, how this Terraform for the banking app is look like. So at the beginning, as I said, we are now having the provider that we want. So we are taking it from the Permit.io registry, from the Terraform registry, of course. And here we are also initializing. So for example, if you're working against the cloud, against the Europe region of permit or the US East, you can just use the another API URL of permit. And here we are starting to configure. So if you remember, in the UI, we've been sold the resource of wire transfer. And this is exactly how we configure it via the Terraform provider. So you can see here we have the key of the key transfer, and we have actions that we want to have approve, review, deny, operate, create. And we also have the attributes that we want to have. And this allow us actually configure everything. What you see here is actually the complex, but if you just want, to have a template for your team to understand, okay, how do I model this one? You don't need anymore to do that with the permit UI. You can do everything as code, as a way that people understanding. This is actually a new way to write fine-grained authorization. And we are super proud of it because all the policy languages out there, so for example, the Rigo code, the default code that permit is generating for you, or the Cedar language, or the other policy languages, they are very oriented with the way the policy works. So if you're thinking about it, Rigo is a policy language, but you are, as a developer, you usually 90%, 95% of the developers do not need more complex rule than the fine-grained authorization they need in their app. And they want to model it the same way they are actually configure everything in the app. They want to model it with resources. They want to model it with conditions that do not need to get into loops and some imperative and logical operators in it. So as you can see here, we are configured the resources, and we can also configure here more some resources. And here we can even configure attribute conditions. So what you can see here is that we have the small transaction. Small transaction means resource that is amount is less than or equal to 1,000. And then we're creating policies, right? And we can create conditions for resource set, for user set, as you can see here. You can see that, for example, a safe owner is an owner that the location is equals to its country, and it's very easy and intuitive to understand. Plus, give you the capability to work with permit the same way that you are actually work with any kind of other developer tools. So you can connect it to maybe your GitOps architecture and make sure that you are or that you are making like the pull fashion of GitHub architecture. You are not pushing to production pull from you, and you are ensuring a great velocity with configuration of policies. You can see here that we are also have a way to configure roles, and then we are also configuring the permissions. So for example, here we have the role of account member, and we say the account member is about allowed to be read. And we can also configure the relationship-based roles or the resource level roles. So for example, here we have a resource level role, and you can see here that I'm also giving them the resource attribute. If you're looking here, this is a top level role, and this is a resource level role that get the resource attribute. And of course, the permission, here the permission does not include the resource itself because it's a resource level role. We can also create role derivations, which is the way that we are deriving roles between deriving permission and implicit grant the users. And that's super easy to implement and run. If we're taking, for example, a look here, we can see that I have here my environment template, and I can take let's change something. So I'm going back to the UI screen where we are actually showing how our current model is actually looks like. Let's go to the policy editor, and let's say that from now on, I want to avoid account beneficiaries from adding their own member. So I'll go back to the Terraform, I'll search for add members, and I want to remove this permission. Add members. So we have the account owner, we want to keep them the permission, and we have here the account beneficiary. Let's comment this permission, and let's run the Terraform apply. So it will, let me even use Tofu to make it cool and open source. Tofu apply. So we can see here it start to run. Oops. Oh, I need to upgrade. So let me Tofu. Okay, so we are finding the relevant matches, and then we can see soon that they will ask me what I want to update. So you see, I want to change 4 items in the policy. Maybe I have some mismatch of versioning. I will change them. I'll click yes, and if I'll go back here, I can see that that doesn't take effect. But in general, what I supposed to see, oh, I know what the problem. I'm doing it against another environment. If we'll go now back to final demo, right, you can see that the add members is actually unchecked. Let's recheck it here, and let's run the open tofu again. We can see that there is the resource to change, the permissions to change. I'll click on yes, and we can see that immediately this one is now active. So this one gives the permission. So we believe that the Terraform provider is one of the greatest way for you to manage policies for multiple reasons. The first one is that because you're actually getting a way to manage permission the same way that your anything in our application do. Second, because it's decoupled better the schema and the facts in permit itself. And third, because it's create a native way to run in your software development lifecycle efficiently. So with that, I want to continue to the new feature, but beforehand, if anyone has any kind of questions and comment, I just want to remind you that we see all your comment. I said that the window was closed. So, hey, Daniel, Lloyd, Ian, Rohan, Yarden, good to see you all here. Good to see everyone here watching us, no matter where you are, watching us. We love you all. If you have any questions regarding the Terraform provider, or you just want to comment on anything that we are announcing, please just write a comment. Again, you're watching us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you're watching us, just write your comment and we'll try to answer it live. With that, I want to continue to another feature. I'll give a short intro on that, and then I'll get to Maya to demonstrate it. If you are familiar with relationship-based access control, you're probably familiar with the basic concept. One of the basic concepts with relationship-based access control is implicit grant. Think about it. You want to do fine-grained authorization. You want to give your user access for the particular single instance in your system. And the traditional way was to maintain all this relationship in access control list, right? So if we look 10 years back, we need to maintain every relationship between a user and a resource. And of course, the policy that derive what they can do. What they can do with this resource, we need to maintain it. And relationship-based access control, and particularly Google Zanzibar, create a new way to do that, to do implicit grant by using role derivation and the graph approach. With relationship-based access control, the way that is also work with permit is that you are actually using the graph that you are store all the relationship between resources and users, and then you can have implicit grant with role derivation. So assume, let's take for example like an example of a dashboard. So I have dashboards, the dashboards have widgets, and the widgets has data related to that. With traditional relationship-based access control, before Zanzibar and role derivation and relationship tuples, the way to do that is to assign our users to all the dashboard instance that they are eligible, to all the widgets that related to the dashboard instance that they are eligible to see, and to all the sets of the data. With relationship-based access control, all what we have to do is acknowledge our fine-grained authorization engine with the relationships between dashboard widgets and data. And then if we are just giving a user the access to one dashboard, then they are derive everything that is related. And that's the way relation-based access control work, and that's the way it works in permit. But if you're thinking about it, one very fundamental feature of identity access management is kind of limited with the model of the graph. And this feature is about groups. If you ever managed identity access, or if you ever manage IAM, you probably know that groups is a fundamental part of the modeling. And with relationship-based access control, it's getting hard to manage group that they have implicit grant to the group. So if, for example, we have a team, the team of, social media, and the user has a relationship to the team, but not directly to the document that related to the social media, it's sometimes getting hard to connect it together. It's not that hard. It just required you more and more API calls to the tuples to create the tuples between the entities. And we are excited to announce today in Permit that we are going to support groups as part of our relationship-based access control. That's going to save a lot of API calls that you need to do. And with that, I'll move the stage to Maya to show us the relationship-based access control groups API that is now existing in Permit.
Thank you, Gabriel. So just give me 1 second. I will share my screen. Right? Okay. I think now I can see. So let's talk about groups feature. So for now, we have groups API in Permit. We're planning to develop a UI for this feature in the future. But for now, let's take a quick view on this API. So Groups API basically come to simplify permission management by organize your user and resource instance into a group. It's allowing us to be assigned to actually take a role and assign it to a group instead to an individual user. So as we can see, the Groups API provide us endpoints to create and update and delete groups. But for the main issue, it allows us to assign role to a group that give us the ability that every user is part of the groups will got the permission from this role automatically without the need to assign the user to the specific role we want. And of course, it's let us to organize our reback permission in an easy way with API that wrap up all of the functionality. So let me move to the diagram that's relevant for this explain. Okay. And let's start with our first case. So if you are a permit user, you're probably familiar with the objects that I'm going to talk about: resource, resource instance, resource role. But of course, we have all the documentation in the permit.io documentation. So let's do a quick overview. If we want to create group, in this case, our group name company, and we have a group instance that basically will be resource instance. Let's call it Acme for example. So if we will use the group API, create group, we will get this resource instance, and it automatically will create the member role for this group. And this is like the first part, but if we want to assign a new role for this group, let's say we want to assign the role editor. So like every user who will be member at Acme will get the role editor, like in this case for social media. So we'll use the endpoint to assign role to a group, and it will automatically create a relation named company group between the resource company to the resource marketing. It will create a relationship between the Acme resource instance and the social media resource instance, and of course the role derivation between the member and the editor role. So in this case, each user we will assign to the role member, and the group instance Acme will get the editor role on the social media. This is called user group in the terms of this feature. And we also, let's do a quick overview on the resource group. This is like in a high level, let us group resource instance. Like if we have in this example group, let's call it group, it's a resource type. And we have the resource instance folder A. And now I want that all the folder B will be under folder A. And of course, we can create folder C will be under also. So we'll use the endpoint assign group to group, and it will create relation between group to group. It will create also derivation between the role member, and it will create relationship between folder A and folder B. And this is allow us to organize our objects in like better way and more simple using this API. So if I want just to close this thing, the group API centralize the permission control. It's save your time and ensure consistent permission for users and resource. And it's basically the best way for a large scale environment to organize the permission and make sure each user have the relevant permission without to assign like each user to each role. So every user you will assign to the group will get all the relevant permission. And I think that's it.
Yeah, that's a feature that really I'm like kind of deep into the relationship-based access control and FGA in multiple platforms, and I think the permit groups features is really it could help many developers to adopt better the capabilities of relationship-based access control. It is not the main thing for relationship-based access control that can make it easier to developers. We are working always to make relationship-based access control in FGA much easier to model and implement. But I think the group's API is really get some lower barrier for developers who want to start with relationship-based access control. So now we are already after 30 minutes, and I really want to do the raffle for the keyboard. So I'll give another minute, I'll mention again that if you're actually want to be at the raffle and you're just watching us on YouTube or whatever you're watching us and you haven't registered with the Luma link, with the platform that we are registering to event, we don't know that you're actually eligible for the raffle. We need your name, we need your email. So if you want to be in the raffle, just make sure that you're scanning this QR code and joining the raffle with the joining the live stream of the third day, and then you'll be part of the raffle. So please scan it. I'll give it another 30 minutes for people who want to scan and join the raffle. And for now, I'll start to talk a little about fine-grained authorization trade-offs. Like anything in software has trade-offs, right? As a software developer, I believe that one of the most important skills of software developers is considering trade-offs. Nothing that you do with software will be 100% optimal or 100% optimized. And a good developers know to look at software, look at design, and understand what are the trade-offs that possible. And fine-grained authorization, like anything else, also has trade-offs, especially when it comes to consider between conditional rules, consider between relationship-based rules, and etc. And we are at Permit always try to help developers consider better on that trade-off. Our next announcement can be considered small, but for some use case that needs both attributes and relationship-based access control could be very helpful for users. But beforehand, let's start with the raffle. So as every day, I'm going here to the Luma, which is the platform where we are registering users. Let's go to the guest screen. We have today 52 guests. Make sure that you are sharing tomorrow's stream because we want to have much more registration to the live streams. But let me download the file. I have here the CSV. I'm opening it here. And I would copy all the emails. I'll open the Raffle online page to do the raffle. And soon I'll copy all the emails. Let me copy them and put it in the raffle list. Okay, I am sharing the screen of the wheel. That is yesterday's raffle. I pasted here, you see the 52 guests of the new raffle of today, and let's click to spin. I hope you're waiting for that. Let's see who will be the winner of our super cool permit customized keyboard today. And we can see that Shital Bajagoda is our winner, our first winner. Well, I hope you are here. So if you are here, Shita, please drop a message. Is that you? And you are the winner of the raffle. And if you are not here, we'll wait for 20 seconds and then we'll continue for the next winner in the keyboard. Shita, just make sure that if you are here, you're dropping the message. Seems like Shita is not here. So I'll remove it from the list and let me raffle it again. So you can see the screen and I'm rotating it again. And let's see who is the winner. So we have Arindam Majumder. Arindam, if you are here, please drop a message. I really want someone to be here already. We want to have a winner for the keyboard of today. So we'll wait another 20 seconds to see if Arindam is here. Please send a message so we know, even just send yes, make it really quick so we can continue to the next winner. Seems like Arindam is not here too. Sorry for you, Arindam. And let me ruffle it again. Okay, and we have now Vinit. Oh, I see that one say that Arindam was here yesterday, but we are now have Vinit Parke. Vinit, are you here? If so, seems like Vinit is not here too. We need to see what to do. Why is that? Is that a special day today? Maybe it's close to Halloween. This is why people are less joining from what they register. But probably they will be able to watch it after on YouTube. So we remove Vinit, and again, finger crossed that we will get the winner now. Benjamin Freddy. I bet I just met Benjamin at the conference, and that's fun because Benjamin has a chance to win the keyboard at the conference, but he haven't won that. Let's see, maybe he won that in the live stream. Benjamin Freddy from Garmin, are you at the live stream? Uh, yeah, Rohan, I think you have like a good content for why you should also join the live stream that you are registered to. Now here, I think I'll make it faster because you're probably all really waiting. So we'll wait less between winners. I'm moving it again. Let's see who is now, and then we wait like 5 to 10 seconds and roll it again if would not have the winner. I guess the name is Adite. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's really weird. It's like the lucky wheel today is only for people who haven't joined the live stream. Ian? Is that the Ian I know? Yeah, Ian, I see that you're here. You drop us a message at the beginning of the live stream. Ian? Let's wait for a message from Ian because I saw he was in the stream at the beginning. What are the rules? If someone was and then dropped, still eligible for that? You see, so Ian commented at us on the
Yeah, he's here.
beginning. Yes, hey, Hall. So great, Ian. Please drop us a message, and we can see you. We'll send you that. Yeah, took a few tries, but yeah, Ian, you're here, and we are so happy for you to win the keyboard. I know that you're loyal to the live stream, so thanks for being part of the Permit community. And reminding, we are doing a raffle every day, so. Really inviting you to join tomorrow, but also join the live stream, not only register on Luma. So congrats, Ian. I'll remind you that to get the keyboard, you need to drop me an email at gabriel@permit.io. I'll show the email here for a second so you can copy that and send me your address so I can send you the keyboard. Thank you for joining. And with that long time, we don't have that much time to go over the new feature, so I'll try to go over it in a short. So as I mentioned, there is a trade-off of using relationship-based access control, especially when you also need conditions on top of that. So for example, what if we have an entity that has some condition in the attributes, but we also want to consider the relationship of this entity with another entity. Let's take, for example, an healthcare example. We have a visit, a doctor visit, and this visit has diagnosis. And we want to show a visit only if a visit is not concealed, but also all its diagnosis is not concealed. it could be easy with relationship-based access control at some point, but when we have more and more entities that related to each other and has different conditions on each other, if they are eligible, it became hard. And the trade-off for that, if you're using relationship-based access control, there is the trick of having what we call boolmark. Usually, boolmark is like another entity in the graph that say, okay, if these two entities related to each other with the boolmark, that means the condition is 10. If not, we can do something else. And if you do a attribute-based access control, probably need to pass the attributes. But it is not always that easy and nice to configure things in this way. And this is why we came up with this repository that called FGA Framework. So let me put you also an article that explains this framework, explain these trade-offs, and let you understand better what we've been solved with the new foreign key condition that we added. So I'm putting now on the screen a QR code where you can read everything about the new condition that we added. So you can see, you'll be able to see soon the QR code. Let me enlarge the screen so you can see the code very clear. And let's close this one. And this one is exciting me because we can look at the Terraform provider and how we actually model that. So let's get a second to the example itself. We have the example of we have visits. As you can see here, each visit has relationship to diagnosis object and has relationship to practitioner object. The visit also has attribute concealed false. That's the first condition that we want show visit. Visit can be visible only if it's non-concealed. But also we need a condition that diagnosis, none of the diagnosis that related to the visit is non-concealed. And also the practitioner is advertised. If one of these conditions is not happened, we don't want to show that. So what are our capabilities? So the first one, we can model it, of course, with attribute-based access control. But then every time that we are doing a check for the permit check, we need to go over all the permissions. So we need to pass the visit, we need to pass the diagnosis, and we need to pass the practitioner, which is not easy because we don't want our check function to be that long and coupled with the logic of what we are allowing to users, right? So this has the trade-off of writing long code in our app. There is also a possibility, and permits support that, to write a custom Rigo code. You can write custom policy code to do this comparison or to do this assertion. You can see that here I also wrote the code, but that's also complex. People are not feeling comfortable with Rigo, and usually extending the auto-generated code with permit is not the best way to do. And again, there is the relationship-based access control that you can see here. It's a single check. It's very easy to do. But it has the problem of the modeling. So if we are going back to the model, we can see at the main TF that we have this boolmark. As I mentioned, the boolmark is like a relationship that declare instances are allowed to each other. So what we came from is a new type of condition that we call it foreign key condition. What is the foreign key condition? So assuming we have a structure that like we shown here of entities that related to each other only in one level, and we want to continue to use the attribute-based access control that is easier and more performant than relationship-based access control, of course, we can, only on one level, create conditions that is based also on relationship. This is how it looks like. So we can have the object match, as you can see here, that's the usual structure of conditions in permit. And then we can say, okay, if there is practitioner ID, the practitioner ID not like, so the concealed is a direct relation. Here we can say condition if the visit is non-concealed. But we can also have indirect relation using the foreign key resource type. And that could be very helpful for many use cases that have traditional or not that traditional relationship of one level of relationship between objects in the system, and they don't want to get into synchronizing relationships of data to permit. So the foreign key is another step of permit in giving you a modeling that you do not need to expose relationship and to expose all your data to the PDP in order to do simple relationship conditioning with permit. And with that, we are ending our announcement for today. So I'll do a quick wrap up on what we've been announced today. We started with the simplification of relationship-based access control that we have now in permit, was using top-level and resource-level roles instead of the traditional role and relationship. And then with the decoupling of schema and data by using the Terraform provider that make you very easy to keep the clean code, keep the configuration as part of your usual code software development lifecycle. Then Maya shows us the groups API that really made you easy to adopt relationship-based access control with more traditional ways of grouping users. And then we end up with the foreign key support that add you attribute-based access control accessibility for one level of relationship between resources in permit. Thank you for joining us again. I'll be here for more like 2-3 minutes to more wrap up. If you have any question, just drop it whenever you are watching us. I saw that Rohan also marked his attendance for tomorrow. I think you really want to win the keyboard. I also want to get one keyboard. I haven't got yet. It's really limited edition. And again, you can join us for our live stream tomorrow if you want to get another chance of winning the keyboard. I'll say that tomorrow we have a special guest in our live stream that can also give you quick hint of what we are going to announce. Tomorrow in the live stream, we are going to have Gabriel Almeida, one of the co-founder of Langflow. If you're not familiar with Langflow, this is a framework for creating AI and LLM-based applications using low-code or at least very simple Python code. You can create really exciting things with Langflow. You can have, for example, like a permission-based AI application, maybe. I don't know. We'll see in the announcement tomorrow. But we have a special guest, and we probably believe that we'll have another special guest, but we are not exposing that yet. So you really want to join us tomorrow. We are going to talk about very cool integrations and new integrations that you can do with Permit. See you all. Thank you very much. Bye. Thanks for
Thank
joining,
you.
Maya.